Have you ever had a relationship that stayed with you long after it ended? Not necessarily because you wanted it to, not because you were trying to hold on, but because something about that connection seemed to leave a lasting imprint. Maybe years have passed. Maybe you've moved on. Maybe you've built an entirely different life. And yet, sometimes a memory surfaces, a feeling returns, a lesson remains, and you find yourself wondering, why did that relationship affect me so deeply? Why do some people seem to leave a permanent mark on us while others simply pass through our lives? So, today I want to explore a perspective that completely changed the way that I understand relationships. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tina Brigitini. Remember to like and subscribe because I don't believe certain relationships enter our lives only to make us happy. I think some relationships arrive to change us. And here's what makes this difficult. Many people spend years trying to understand why a relationship ended, when the more important question may be, what did the relationship change inside me? Because some relationships aren't significant because they lasted. They're significant because they transformed us. And once we understand that, we begin looking at relationships very differently. See, most people think relationships are about connection, and of course they are, but they're also mirrors. They're teachers, they're catalysts. They reveal part of us we didn't know existed. They expose our fears, our needs, our strengths, our wounds, our possibilities. Some relationships support who we already are, and others challenge us to become someone different. And those are often the relationships that lead the deepest impression. See, one of the most common mistakes that people make is believing that the relationship itself was the lesson. Sometimes that is true, but often the lesson lives deeper. A relationship may reveal how much you've abandoned yourself. It may reveal your fear of rejection, your difficulty receiving love, your tendency to rescue, to fix, or overgive. See, the person becomes the catalyst, but the transformation is happening within you. And this is why some relationships continue affecting us long after they're gone. Not because we're stuck, because they awakened something. See, over the years, I've come to believe that relationships create energetic organization. Every meaningful connection leaves an imprint, not necessarily because energy is attached forever, but because experiences shape us. Think about this. You are not the same person you were before certain relationships. Some made you stronger, some made you wiser, some taught you boundaries, others taught you self respect, another taught you grief, maybe another taught you courage. The relationship may end, the transformation remains. And that's often what we're still feeling. So the nervous system also plays a role here. The experiences that create the strongest emotional impact often become deeply encoded, especially experiences involving love, loss, belonging, rejection, safety, abandonment, connection. These experiences matter because human beings are relational by nature. We are wired for connection, which means relationships don't simply affect our emotions, they affect how we organize around life itself. See, many people assume that if someone continues thinking about a relationship, it means that they haven't moved on. I don't always believe that's true. Sometimes the mind revisits experiences because something remains unfinished, not unfinished with the person, unfinished within ourselves. Perhaps there's a lesson still integrating, a truth that's still emerging, a pattern still becoming visible. Sometimes what we're processing isn't the relationship itself, it's the transformation it initiated. See, some relationships feel almost disruptive. They challenge assumptions, expose blind spots, they force growth, they create change. At the time, these relationships may feel painful, confusing, even devastating. Yet years later, people often recognize that these experiences became turning points, not because they were easy, but because they were transformative, because they altered the direction of life. The distinction is important. So holding on keeps us trapped in the past. Honoring allows us to learn from it. You don't have to erase a relationship to heal. You don't have to pretend it didn't matter. You don't have to deny its impact. You can acknowledge its significance without remaining attached to it. You can appreciate the role it played without needing to continue. That's maturity. That's healing. Do you remember a time where you're saying, why can't I stop thinking about this person? Let's change the question. What did this relationship teach me about myself? That question often changes everything because now the focus shifts. You're no longer looking backward, you're looking inward. And that's where growth occurs. See, some relationships are meant to last, others are meant to teach, and others are meant to redirect us. Some are meant to awaken parts of ourselves we didn't even know were there. The length of a relationship does not determine its significance. Its impact does. And sometimes the relationships that change us forever are the very ones that help us become who we were always meant to be. Not because they stayed, because they transformed us. And in our next video, we're going to explore another pattern that many people quietly struggle with. Why you feel responsible for everyone, and how that pattern may be costing you more energy than you realize. Remember to like and subscribe. Tina Brigitini here. See you in the next video.